I know that 8 years ago now, I won an election outspent 10-1, and we've been working on this year after year. We were outspent in New York just now. Mayor Zohran Mamdani was outspent. We have several congressional races that were just outspent in New Jersey, outspent in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, and yet people are starting, and communities are starting, I think, to associate a lot of this large spending with the big money that requires it to be. Yeah. And so I think that we are at an exciting moment where people are able to just view races on the merits and make these decisions. So we'll see what happens.
And people know that money doesn't come from nowhere. People know that there's been a trade made. You saw it just last week. $3.3 billion of our tax dollars to be sent somewhere else that could be definitely used here in Michigan. And that's a quid pro quo, right? We see it all the time. So people are smart, right? That's the thing about it, is like this cynicism, like this outside money, it presumes that people can't think for themselves. That people don't see those ads and wonder like, who's paying for all that? I thought commercials were really expensive. And then wondering, okay, so somebody really rich paid for a lot of that, and what are they gonna get out of it? So look, honestly, those attack ads, as craven and frankly like insulting as they are, I wear them as a badge of honor, right? It says that I'm willing to actually stand for something, and that there are people with a lot of power who see me as a threat, and they should. And we want politicians who power sees as a threat. I'm not a pundit. I'm running to serve the people in the state of Michigan. And the people in the state of Michigan need and deserve good housing, good jobs, good health care, good schools. And that's not what they're getting from a politics that is bought off. Now, I'll leave it to you to decide what this means for the future of the Democratic Party. But I do think, as someone who is a proud Democrat, these have been some tough years to watch our party elite think that they don't actually have to answer tough questions to their voters. And I will tell you that having traveled my state, the state that everybody says, oh, it's a purple state. Most voters don't walk around wondering like, oh, I wonder where I sit on the left-right spectrum. Most voters are walking around being like, am I gonna be able to afford my health care next month? What happens if my kid gets sick? I can't make my car note. So this is about, make no mistake, the people of the state of Michigan. But if we're serious about winning elections as a party, I do hope that some party elites out in DC are watching right now, because it turns out that if you actually listen to everyday people about what they need and deserve, and actually speak to the things that they need and deserve, it turns out that you can take on $50 million of that outside spending, because people know that you're not them. You're not rigged, right? It's not a quid pro quo for some corporation that wants to pass policy that's always going to help them and not you. So look, I just think that if we believe in democracy, then you answer to people. That's how this should work. Not that hard.
I mean, I think that primary elections aren't referendums on the party. They are referendums on that community. And so I think that you can't extrapolate from any one race about this. But one thing that I will say is that in a system, and in a political system, whether it's a primary election or a general election, where money looms and plays such a large role in influence, I think that we as Democrats do better when we figure out how to break past big money in order to win elections. Because at the end of the day, as a Democrat, we do fight for working class Americans, which means big money will always be against us, including in general elections. You look at what this president is doing right now. Highway robbery, outright corruption, straight up going to oil and gas companies and saying, you give me $1 billion and I'll write whatever policy that you want. We will allow any poisoning of any community. He'll go to Wall Street and they will shake down every industry with more shamelessness. And they have less bounds than any Democrat ever will. So regardless of political ideology, we're going to have to figure out how to beat this monster. Mm-hmm. And the way that we do that is by electing candidates that can effectively subvert our system of big money, bring people together, build physical community that is resilient to the disinformation and misinformation that we see spread, and know how to win elections against all odds.